Hi, this is William Stewart, co-founder of Teleios. Welcome back to our verse-by-verse study on the book of Mark. We're in the Passion Week. Christ has been dealing with the Pharisees, still doing miracles. He's just cleansed the temple, instructed over the withered fig tree, and now he is walking in the temple and on the next morning, and the Jewish leadership comes to him and they ask him, by what authority do you do these things? Otherwise, his miracles are cleansing the temple and disrupting their business. And again, they weren't really sincere in asking. If they had looked at all, that was obvious. Christ was fulfilling prophecy and healing coming from the line of David. He has instructed them. He has advanced the knowledge of God's plan during this time. He has continually answered their questions. He's called himself Son of Man from Daniel, and has basically claimed authority over him. And they should have known. And yet they are still trying to ask him these questions to trick him again so they can take something to the Roman authorities that would make him look seditious and treasonous and ask them to put Christ to death. Again, the Jews could not do it, only the Romans could. So every question basically is a trick. Christ responds in verse 29, I'll ask you a question, answer me, and I will tell you the answer to yours, basically. The baptism of John, this is from John the Baptist, the forerunner of Christ, from heaven. Was it from heaven or men? So that got the Jewish leadership thinking, because they thought, okay, if we say he was from God, then Christ would say, well, why don't you believe him? Duh. Or if they go, well, he's not from God, then he would have to face the people, because John the Baptist was very popular. And there's a lot of people there, most of them from outside Jerusalem, where John was preaching, in Galilee and the other rural areas. And so again, they were afraid of the crowds and not want to ask the wrath. So they said, well, we don't know. And Christ says, neither will I tell you the answer to your question. So once again, Christ makes a mockery of the Jewish leadership, again, showing his authority and the wisdom of God. We know from 1 Corinthians 1 that the greatest wisdom of man is less than the foolishness of God. So then Christ goes to a parable, and I'm not sure if it is really at the same time. I think it is by the conjunction kai in the original Greek, sort of the same, a new thought within the same topic. And he said there was a man who planted a vineyard and hired out a husbandman to take care of it. And he went away to a far country. And so it came to a time that he wanted his money, the owner. And he sent a servant to collect from the husbandman over the vineyard. And they beat him, sent him away. He didn't want to pay. Verse 4, he sent another servant. And he cast stones and wounded him in the head, treated him shamefully. So he sent more servants. I don't think I would have wanted to have been one of those servants. And they also treated them poorly as well. So finally he had said, I'll send my son. They'll reverence him. So he sent his son, and the husbandman and the people with him said, let's kill him, and the inheritance will be ours. So they killed him and cast him out of the vineyard. Christ asked then in verse 9, what would the owner of that vineyard do? He would come and destroy the husbandman and give the vineyard to others. And verse 10, he reiterates this point. Have you not heard that the stone which the builders rejected has become the head corner? This is from Psalm 118:26, a famous prophecy, quoted several times in the New Testament. He also quotes the next verse in Psalms. This was the Lord's doing and is marvelous in our eyes, of course, because it leads to salvation. And they sought to lay hold on him, but they feared the people, for they knew what he had spoken in the parable was about them. And the Pharisees went away, for they're the leaders. So what's this parable alluding to? Well, it's alluding to God wanting his people to believe and behave, and sending warnings that they obey by sending prophets, which they treat shamefully and abuse physically. Finally, he goes, I will send my son, otherwise Jesus, Son of God. They'll reverence him. And the treatment there was even worse. They rejected him and killed them. And what would be God the Father's response? Well, his wrath. Christ is again graciously and truthfully warning the Jewish leadership to believe on him as Messiah or face God's wrath. But they couldn't do it with so much desire for power and money and arrogance. Okay, so what have we covered today? Two events with the Jewish leadership. One, they challenge his authority. Christ, under whose authority does he work? But he wouldn't answer Christ's return question. So he walked away from them, not giving them the satisfaction of the answer for which they wanted to find fault enough to have the Roman authorities charge him with treason and execute him. He comes back with a parable of the owner of a vineyard sending his son to be killed by the people who should have obeyed the owner. And of course, this is about Christ and what the Jews were about to do. Again, giving the Jews another chance of repentance. Such grace. Okay, thank you for joining me today. We'll talk about another incident with the Jewish leadership next time. I hope you join me then.